Hi, good evening, everyone. I'll try this one again. I did this one earlier this afternoon, only to find out my audio wasn't working. And then not only did I not know the last one of this one had not worked, the two other videos I created and uploaded wasn't also had any audio from me. So there it was me talking away to myself like an idiot. But hey ho, life goes on, doesn't it? Right. So this guy here, some of you may have seen him on some paranormal shows. His name's Dan Rivera, and he visited the Annabelle doll. And we all know in the paranormal world what Annabelle's like. I personally would love to get a doll like Annabelle, just because I'm sick and twisted. But I really would. And despite it having on the box it was surrounded in, saying, do not open, do not touch. Now, in my opinion, if something has a label on it saying, do not touch, guess what I'm going to do? Yep, you guessed it. I'm going to touch it. And if it says, do not open, providing it's not padlocked, I will open it. Bit like if I ever had a debit box, they say you must never open them. If I had one, guess what I would do? I would open it. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it? Some have got more guts than others, I guess. Right, so I'm going to get on and play this. It's a really sad story, but at the ending of it, the coroner ruled out sort of like natural causes. He did apparently have cardiac problems in the past, but a coroner's never going to say death by spirit, are they? Or death by an attachment. And we all know, if you're in the paranormal world, that you could go to a venue or touch an item that's got a spirit attached to it and it catches on to you. And then you go home, that spirit or the attachment will still be on you. Just because you left the building, it's not going to stay where it was. So, quite possibly, whatever was attached to Annie followed him back to his hotel room. But I'll carry on playing this for you. So, anyway. Oops, I'm in it. Guess what? I forgot to add it to stage. Typical. There we go. My brain's dead today, guys.
Sold out event featuring one of the most infamous haunted objects in the world, the Annabelle doll. It happened in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. While officials say there's no foul play, the timing has reignited a lot of dark speculation. We're going to break down what we know and what we don't know right now. Welcome to Sidebar.
And also, as you're in my room, can you please click like, subscribe, and share? I would be really grateful for that because it helps me to get into the YouTube algorithms. If you have any cases you want to send me, at the bottom of the screen is scrolling across the bottom, tells you my email. And if you fancy buying me a coffee, you're more than welcome to buy me a cup of coffee. And the link is down the bottom as well. Just type into your browser buymeacoffee.com/Cassie P. Thank you. Right, back to the program.
Presented by Law and Crime, I'm Jesse Weber. I'm telling you right now, this isn't the kind of story that we usually cover on Sidebar, but I gotta say, this is so chilling, so strange, so mysterious. We have to talk about it. We have to cover it. We often say some of the stories that we cover feel like they come straight out of a horror movie. This one, it is kind of like a horror movie. It ended in tragedy. What was supposed to be a sold-out 3-day paranormal event in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, took a very dark and unexpected turn. Dan Rivera, a 54-year-old U.S. Army veteran and well-known paranormal investigator, died suddenly Out of nowhere, on the evening of July 13th, just hours after concluding his Devils on the Run tour, which featured none other than the infamous, allegedly demon-possessed Annabelle doll. Now, if you've seen any of the Conjuring films or the 2014 movie Annabelle, you already know just how unsettling this doll's reputation is. Over the years, it's been tied to countless eerie and inexplicable incidents, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But what makes Rivera's death especially disturbing is just how sudden and strangely timed it was. According to Adams County dispatch logs, emergency responders were called to a hotel in Gettysburg at around 8 p.m. on Sunday, July 13th, after someone reported CPR being performed on a man matching Rivera's description. And despite attempts to revive him, Rivera was pronounced dead shortly after. The Adams County Coroner's Office has confirmed that the death is not being treated as suspicious, though the exact cause remains pending, as autopsy results could take 60 to 90 days. But Rivera was the lead investigator for the New England Society for Psychic Research. It's called NESPR. And by the way, this is the same organization that was founded by legendary ghost hunters Ed and Lorraine Warren. He had just wrapped a 3-day showcase of the Annabelle doll at the historic Soldiers National Orphanage in Gettysburg, hosted by Ghostly Images of Gettysburg Tours. Now, the event was a hit. It drew massive crowds. Over 1,260 tickets were sold to see Annabelle and other haunted relics from the Warrens Occult Museum. But according to the Evening Sun, Rivera took precautions to safely display the doll, building a protective case around it, encasing it, by the way, with 3 crosses and vials of holy water. Here's, by the way, how the official tour description put it. Quote, "The Devils on the Run tour is a chilling experience that brings the tales of famed ghost hunters Ed and Lorraine Warren's investigations to life. This tour offers a chance to delve deep into some of the darkest aspects of paranormal activity, including the entities and haunted objects the Warrens encountered during their decades-long career. One of the tour's key highlights is the infamous Annabelle doll, which, despite its seemingly innocent appearance, has been the cause of numerous terrifying incidents. The doll has reportedly brought misfortune, injury, and even death to those who have interacted with it improperly. The Devils on the Run tour takes participants to some of the most haunted places in America, and as part of its special events, it will feature locations like the haunted historic Soldiers Orphanage homestead in Gettysburg, where the spirits of the past still linger. This stop along the Devils on the Run tour will feature not just the Annabelle doll, but a couple of other haunted relics from the Warrens Occult Museum. So as you know, we're always writing a lot of sidebars here. We're researching, we're doing...
A minute, he's going to go into an advert, and I don't do adverts.
Event. In one TikTok video, Rivera himself excitedly announced that he was traveling with Annabelle to the historic town.
Annabelle's leaving San Antonio, guys. Now we're heading to Gettysburg. See you there.
You can also see video of the doll's arrival at the Gettysburg site posted by the Annabelle Tour account. There's another clip.
I'm just going to plug in my ring light, guys, so you might see me disappeared for a bit, but I've still got it in my ears.
That shows behind-the-scenes moments from the event. And according to the Evening Sun, Rivera joked with attendees during the event, downplaying the doll's infamy, even referencing bizarre online theories connecting Annabelle to a prison break or a phone outage or a plantation fire. But behind the humor was a man who dedicated his life to the paranormal. A native of Bridgeport, Connecticut, Rivera spent more than a decade investigating the supernatural, having been mentored by the late Lorraine Warren, one half of the legendary behind investigation, the real-life Annabelle case. And his passion extended to television as well, with appearances on the Travel Channel's Most Haunted Places, a production role on Netflix's 28 Days Haunted. Rivera was also a pioneer in using social media to bring the paranormal into the mainstream. He leveraged TikTok to promote the tour, helping it reach a massive audience. His videos, which were often created alongside fellow investigator Ryan Buell, racked up millions of views, and it stirred both fascination and fear as Annabelle made her way across the country.
Hey, Ryan, we got more work to do. Again.
You got it. Get the car fired up. I'll get the guys ready.
Now, NESPR confirmed Rivera's death in just a heartbreaking Facebook post, calling him, quote, a kind, passionate educator who dedicated his life to paranormal research. The message reads, with heavy hearts, we share the sudden and heartbreaking loss of our dear friend and colleague, Dan Rivera. The New England Society for Psychic Research is devastated by his passing and is still coming to terms with the profound loss. Dan was not only a vital part of our team for over a decade, but also a deeply compassionate, loyal, and dedicated friend. A U.S. Army veteran, Dan served both his country and the people around him. He worked closely with Lorraine Warren and remained by her side even as her health declined, always offering a steady hand and unwavering support. Dan was a constant presence with Lorraine and NESPR at local events such as Evening with Annabelle, where his warmth and professionalism left a lasting impression. And the tribute also.
And I also have on here as well. Let me just see if I can add it. Stop that screen for a second. See, I got a creepy background behind me. Image photo. No. That's one share screen. Is that the one? Bear with, I've got to find the right one. This one. So on here, just checking that you can see it as well. I will read it out to you because it's probably a bit small for you. Let's get rid of that one. Get rid of that screen. Right, so biography. Dan Rivera was a New England Society for Psychic Research chief investigator. 54-year-old Army veteran and a paranormal investigator, was on the Gettysburg leg of the sold-out Devil's Run tour, where tragedy struck. The sold-out tour generated social media attention and controversy. He led the viral Devils on the Run tour. Rivera was a loved figure in the paranormal world, known for his warmth, wit, and dedication. So we all know that, you know, how he passed away. But it says, Rivera was well known for his love of paranormal research and compassionate character as a friend, husband, father. He stressed the value of giving guests a good experience and described his precautions against the doll, which included creating a case for it that was stained with holy water and featured 3 crosses, which stand for the Holy Trinity. Dan stated that the doll did not result in 9/11 outrage. 9/11 outrage during the doll's initial public appearance the day before, according to Dan. Her advice on how to defend oneself against evil spirits was essentially meditation. She advised closing one's eye and visualizing oneself in white light halo. According to biographies, Rivera had an insatiable curiosity about the paranormal from a very early age, which prompted him to start his own paranormal investigation team following his time in the army. So we've got some pictures here. That's not very clear. And that's the best picture of him, I believe. And then it says, listen to their voice. I haven't listened to this. It's only 27 seconds long. And I can't hear nothing. Nope. So obviously there's a fault with that one, because I can't hear nothing on that one. But we'll go back to the other story on law and crime. Yep, what am I doing? Take that one off. All this fiddling around just to produce a paranormal show. We'll have to film one of my paranormal investigations one day and put it up on YouTube.
A quote from one of Rivera's own posts shared in 2020 after visiting the grave of Ed and Lorraine Warren. In it, he reflects on legacy, memory, the idea that our spirits endure through the lives that we've touched, writing, does life really end? I've asked myself that question today. My answer was, in life, we leave a piece of ourselves with loved ones and friends in our journey through life until there are no more pieces to give away. You would think that is the end, but when you look back at all the pieces you gave away, those pieces will always be remembered. So I say, I will never die. My journey has only begun. Fellow investigator Ryan Buell shared an emotional tribute to his dear friend on his Instagram page, writing, I am utterly heartbroken and sad to write that Dan Rivera, the lead investigator for the New England Society for Psychic Research, NESPR, has passed away this weekend. I have so many amazing memories with this guy. Just as recently as 2 months ago, we traveled around the country and introduced a whole new generation to Ed and Lorraine Warren's legacy. Dan cared for Lorraine towards the end of her life, and he devoted his time passionately to keeping Ed and Lorraine's legacy alive. He was a loving father, husband, and a loyal and caring friend. And what many of you may not know is, privately, he and NSPR helped families who were haunted just as Ed and Lorraine did. One of the many things I loved about Dan is that he was a dreamer with big, bold, and sometimes ballsy ideas. I love that I got to play a small role in that vision. And just as I mourn him, I also mourn his unfinished dreams and ideas for the future. I can't believe I had my final phone call with you and my final moment with you here on this earth. I'll cherish every minute of it. And fans, colleagues, they flooded social media with condolences, remembering Rivera not only for his charisma, but also for his deep reverence for the paranormal. Many recalled his signature protective rituals like the holy water stain case that he built for Annabelle, sealed with 3 crosses to ward off evil. And as we mentioned earlier, Annabelle's legacy is particularly dark. Despite, again, what's an innocent appearance, a simple Raggedy Ann doll, Annabelle has become one of the most infamous haunted objects in paranormal history. Now housed in the Warren Occult Museum in Connecticut, the doll first gained notoriety in the 1970s after allegedly terrorizing a nursing student named Donna. According to the New England Society for Psychic Research, the events began in 1968. Quote, a student nurse is given a Raggedy Ann doll as a gift, and she brings it home where she lives with a roommate. Almost immediately, the roommates noticed strange occurrences with the doll, and they were introduced to a medium who told them the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle. The 2 roommates tried to accept the doll's spirit and please it, only to have it reciprocate maliciousness and violent intent. This is when Ed and Lorraine were called and pronounced the doll demonically possessed. They removed the doll from the house and encased it in a glass box to contain the evil-spirited entity. And by the way, the Warrens famously placed a warning on the case, positively do not open. Over the years, Annabelle's legend has only grown, with claims that the doll has moved on its own, lifted its arms, scratched, even caused a fatal car crash involving a priest. One story alleges it once stabbed a police officer. So whether it's fact or folklore, the tales surrounding Annabelle helped inspire the Conjuring universe, started with the 2014 Annabelle film, subsequent spin-offs, and now we have to try to make sense of this. Okay, so we thought we'd bring in somebody to help sort all of this out. I am joined by forensic pathologist, former chief medical examiner, Mary Jambelic. Mary, thank you so much for coming on. Always love having your expertise. This is a different one, okay? So you have the Adams County Chief Deputy Coroner, Scott Pennewill, who said that Rivera's death was, quote, nothing suspicious. What does that tell you?
Well, from what I understand in the brief reporting that has been done on this case is that it was an unwitnessed arrest. So to my knowledge, there isn't anyone who saw the death happen, who, knows about it. And anytime that is the case, you have to look for everything, including signs of suspicious activity. Maybe it's a homicide. You want to make sure there's no trauma on the body. You have to do a thorough scene evaluation as well as an autopsy. Again, I don't know what was done in this case, but if the coroner is saying that, it's based on the preliminary information from the scene, that there's no trauma, no blood, that type of thing.
Could that change?
Of course. I think whenever you begin an investigation, you have to leave room for answering the questions. And so you have to look at what the individual was doing before they died, when they were last seen alive, what's their medical history. were there access to medications or illicit drugs? All of that is going to, play a role in evaluating what happened to the person.
So they retrace his steps for 24 hours before, 48 hours before, what he ate, where he went, what he did, what he consumed, everything like that.
Absolutely. Who saw him? What was his behavior like? Was he complaining of anything? Did he have a sore throat? Did he complain of chest pain? Was he feeling well? All of that is going to play a role in interpreting what is seen at the autopsy.
By the way, when they say cause of death pending, to be clear, does that mean they are unsure what the cause of death is as of right now, or they're waiting for the results or something else?
I think I would use that term when I was waiting for additional results, typically toxicologic results. So were there any drugs, poisons, chemicals, prescription medication in the decedent's system? Could they have played a role in the death? That is how it might typically be, but it could also be used if they're doing other specialized studies that aren't toxicology related, perhaps a brain analysis, neuropathology, something along those lines.
What does an autopsy look like in a case like this? You're given a body. There is no, let's say, apparent stabbing wound or blunt force trauma or gunshot wound. What do you do?
Well, every autopsy should start with an external examination of the body, looking carefully at the skin, head to toe, front and back, for anything, trauma, scars, disease, psoriasis, wounds, bug bites, a rash, anything that might give you a clue to the activity of the person. Of course, needle punctures for drug use, all of that should be examined. And that's all seen just on the outside of the body. And then the autopsy that the average person typically thinks of begins with the incision, precisely placed, chest and abdomen, opening up, looking at all the internal organs one by one to make sure they're normal, or is there trauma, or is there disease? Was there hardening of the arteries? Was there cirrhosis of the liver? Is the bladder full? Is the stomach full? Did the person eat recently? All of that can be gleaned from the autopsy internal examination.
If somebody says
they do that anyway, it's not just because of what happened to Dan, but I was just happened to be searching by Annabelle Doll, and there's a really creepy one here. And if I had 80 odd pounds, I may be tempted to buy it, but I'll just share it with you for a minute. I need to stop that screen. I'll come back to him. Share screen. You tell me how creepy this doll looks. Now, what do you think of her? Eh? Let me see if I can make it bigger. No, I can't. But she's a musical paranormal doll. Annabelle dolls and play doll sets on eBay. Annabelle made of porcelain. But I quite like that. I mean, you can tell she's got a bit wear and tear to her, so you never know. Might be some history behind it. And then there's other things that you can buy. Yeah. So I thought I'd show you that one. I know it doesn't look nothing like the raggedy one they got in the museum, but there is, and you can also buy this one as well, which is a lot. Well, in UK money, it's £135. I couldn't justify that. I bet you're paying £100 just for the box it's in. It's ridiculous how they certainly market off something they like from a film, isn't it? Right, let's go back to the rest of Dan. There's not much more left of Dan. And I'm checking my green lights for my speaker, which is this one here. Because my main one here, oh gosh, now it's come off the table. I broke it. Help. Oh dear. I'll fix that in a minute. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see. Honestly, nothing to see. I was going to say, I need to send my microphone back because it seems to be not working. And as I said that, it decided to fall apart. Well, I say fall apart. It came off its bracket. But it's a good job I'm not using it. Right.
They died from natural causes. What does that mean?
That's a very broad category. And frankly, it's a majority of cases that medical examiners and coroners deal with. Anything from a stroke to a heart attack to cancer to something with their lungs to pneumonia. It's such a broad category. It just means that there was nothing intervening from someone else or something causing trauma. It's a broad category.
And for the most part, that would be able to be determined if it wasn't. I know it's broad, but a medical examiner would be able to say it looks like there was complications with a stroke or a blood clot or a heart attack, something of that nature.
Yes, we find sometimes situations where you look inside the body and what we find is incompatible with life. So we open up the body and there's a stroke that has taken over the entire brain, and we can see that at the autopsy. There are other times when what we see is disease and we find nothing else wrong. So we find hardening of the artery, but we don't see, like, the heart isn't exploded. The heart doesn't have obvious trauma. And we say, the person had an arrhythmia, an electrical disturbance by this hardening of the artery. That's what we think happens. So sometimes it's very obvious, and other times it's a presumption based on ruling everything else out.
Why does it take several months for results?
Well, I think toxicology has gotten more and more refined, and we're detecting more and more drugs, and there's being more drugs synthesized in modern day. So it's gotten better, but it's gotten harder because we're looking for more things, and all of that testing takes time. In addition, there are more and more people that are using drugs. There are more and more overdoses that occur. And so that everyone's waiting in line to have the test done. And it just takes a certain amount of time to do it.
I'm going to ask you a very juvenile elementary question, but I have to ask it. Is it possible someone just dies and you don't have an answer? You just say, look, there's nothing outward that seems like there was any trauma, that it was, anybody inflicted anything. Like you said, there was no external event. I can't see evidence of a stroke. I can't see evidence of heart disease. Just someone died and we don't have the answer. Obviously, why I'm asking this is because of the eerie circumstances surrounding his death and what he was doing. Right. Is it possible that could be an answer where you just don't have an answer?
Well, it is. I mean, it's a very unsatisfying answer. It's unsatisfying to the forensic pathologist, to the family, to the community. But there are times when we don't have an answer. Sudden infant death syndrome is one of those situations where infants die, often in their sleep. We don't have an answer to explain.
Oops, paused it.
We can explain some of those cases, but not all of them. And there are equivalents in adults, sudden adult death, where we do not find something tangible. However, when we run into those cases, we try to overturn every stone and look everywhere to just make sure we have exhausted our knowledge base at this point in this century.
Mary, you're one of the most renowned experts in this field. I know you have seen all of it. So I'm going to ask you, as we conclude this, have you ever encountered a case where there is a belief that something supernatural could have caused a death in any way? Has that ever been, asserted and you had to say, wait a minute, let's take a second look at this? I have to ask it given people's, this is a chilling case. And I am curious if you've ever encountered something where supernatural beliefs or a supernatural theory has come forward.
Well, on the one hand, I'm a very avid fan of the X-Files and kind of identify with Dana Scully. And I have that pragmatic approach and scientific approach as well. On the other hand, I believe that if someone believes in the supernatural like that, and they get scared enough or something really affects them, that in effect they could have a heart problem that's brought on by their own fear.
Now, I know that the coroner had said 60 to 90 days. Do you think we might get an answer, some sort of answer, sooner rather than later?
Well, we already know the answer because I did say earlier it's due to cardiac issue. Let me just put Dan Rivera cause death. Yeah, so it says on here, Dan Rivera, the 54-year-old paranormal investigator and Army veteran, passed away on the 13th of July, 2025, while in tour in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, with the famous Annabelle Doll. And then it says, the Adams County coroner, Francis Dutrow, confirmed Rivera had known history of heart problems and his death was consistent with these cardiac issues, ruling it as natural death. Despite widespread speculation, all these pop-ups, where was I? So despite widespread speculation due to his association with the supposedly demonically, possessed Annabelle Doll, authorities confirmed the doll was not present in the hotel at the time of his passing, and no suspicious circumstances were observed at the scene. He was found alone in his hotel room. The incident was officially classified as natural. Now, we know, coroners are not going to turn around and say, oh, yeah, died of possession, died because of a spirit attachment. And we all know spirits can move from one place to another place. They can attach onto you. And when you go home, it's still attached to you. I know there's a lot of paranormal believers out there. And I know there's some that sit on the fence saying, think there might be something out there, but I don't want to know. It's just one of those things. There's not much.
And how would that answer be delivered to the public and the media?
Oh, tired.
Yeah, I don't know. So much depends on what the family or his employers or whatever, how much they want that to be public knowledge. I don't think that there's a sunshine law in Pennsylvania for just giving that information out. So it's hard to know.
Mary Chmbelek, thank you so much for coming on. Again, chilling case, very strange, but appreciate your expertise as always.
You're welcome. Thanks.
So look, for now, the paranormal community mourns a man who truly believed in the unseen, an investigator who, until his final day, walked the line between legend and reality. And with the autopsy pending and questions lingering, officials stress there's no evidence of foul play, the tour's remaining dates are canceled, and it leaves Annabelle's next move uncertain.
I don't know why they have to put her in red light, because that makes it appear more hauntingly, doesn't it? They should have put her just in a cream light, I reckon. She would have looked so much nicer. And people would like her. They would fall in love with her, I'm sure of it. If only they changed that red light, it could be the game changer. But anyway.
We'll follow the next steps and we'll see what the autopsy results are.
So that's all from him. And at the same time, that's all from me. I'm going to upload this to my YouTube account, and I'm also going to share the link with my paranormal team. And then maybe sometime in the future, when we do a paranormal investigation, I can also do some video in just short videos, and I can upload them and that. So that'd be pretty cool. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And if you fancy buying me a cup of coffee, I wouldn't say no. All right then, guys. Till the next time.